One morning, Thomas was waiting impatiently at Torrick Station for Bertie to arrive with his passengers. "The Fat Controller expects me to run this branch line efficiently," hissed Thomas impatiently. "How can I do that when Bertie keeps me waiting, delaying my trains?" "I'm sure there's a good explanation for it," soothed his driver. Just then, Bertie screeched breathlessly into the station yard. "Where have you been?" asked Thomas crossly. "Oh, I'm sorry, Thomas. The road which runs by the railway is full of cracks and potholes. We had to stop so my driver could change a flat tyre." Thomas could no longer be cross. Instead, his anger was replaced with concern. But before he could reply, the guard blew his whistle, and it was time to leave. When Thomas went past the road, he could see that Bertie was right. The road had fallen into severe disrepair over the years and had been neglected. When Thomas reached the junction, he told Gordon all about the road and what Bertie had said. "The roads aren't the Fat Controller's responsibility, little Thomas. And besides, I have an express to pull. I can't afford to idle in stations talking to silly little tank engines." And with that, Gordon stormed away, leaving Thomas in a cloud of steam. That night, the Fat Controller came to the branch line sheds with an announcement.
"As you know, the road to Ellsbridge has been in need of repair for some time. The local council will be starting maintenance tomorrow, and they have asked if we could help to transport gravel and char to the roadwork."
Thomas, Percy and Toby were delighted something would be done, but the relief wouldn't last long. The next morning, Toby went to Farquhar to collect the men to take them to work at the quarry. He dozed in the morning sun, but it was soon interrupted with a loud, shrill whistle. It was George the Steamroller.
"Where's the engine for this train?"
asked George rudely.
"I am the engine!"
thundered Toby.
You could have fooled me. You look like a goods van!"
laughed the Steamroller rudely. "Never mind about him, Toby. We must get these men to work." "Rotten roller," grumbled Toby as he trundled away. The next engine to meet George was Percy. He was taking some tar wagons to the roadworks. He shunted them in a siding as George eyed him up.
"I didn't know insects ran on the railway,"
hooted George.
"No wonder the tar's late. It was brought here by a green caterpillar with red stripes."
"I got it here faster than you would," retorted Percy.
"I'd much prefer to be wrapping up your rails instead of levelling gravel."
That night, Thomas, Percy and Toby could only talk about George.
"It's high time that rotten roller was put in his place,"
said Toby huffily.
"He called me a caterpillar,"
fumed Percy. Thankfully, the road's almost complete. George will be going back to his yard soon, and he'll be out of our funnels.
"And not a moment too soon,"
agreed Toby. A few days later, the roadworks were complete, and George was happy to be heading back to his yard.
"No, I won't have to deal with those kettles on rails."
George struggled up the hill, which went over the tunnel. But when he reached the top, there was a loud crack. "Help!" cried George as he spun out of control. His driver had jumped clear before George plunged down the embankment, bumped across the rails, and came to a stop in a field next to the railway. George felt embarrassed.
Oh, what a fine mess this is,
Huffed George.
Well, none of those engines will see me.
Just then, Toby came to a stop at the nearby signal. "Hello, George," called Toby. "You make a fine new scarecrow." Just then the signal changed, and Toby trundled away laughing, leaving George to sulk on his own until help arrived.